Boom, shakalaka boom. You've tuned in to the free-range human show of choice, your daily dose of reality radio. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I am Clay Edwards, and I am live here on 103.9 FM WYAB, the Big Stick. It's about to get a whole lot bigger. Stay tuned for more details there as we get ready to pump this thing up to 50,000 rock and roll watts here on WYAB. Also, streaming worldwide in not-so-stunning HD. These cameras claim to be HD, but they claim to be 4K, but I got some questions. I got some questions about these cameras here. But hey, either way, they're in living color, if nothing else. Stunning Technicolor here at the Save JXN, YouTube, X, Rumble, and much to my chagrin, Facebook as well. I waffle back and forth on Facebook. I got 50,000 followers over there. I just hate streaming to Facebook. But we're there this morning because I get so many requests for it because some of y'all just refuse to find your way over to YouTube. So, look, I am a man of the people. It's power to the people. People power, as John Laurinaitis would have called it. That's for my WWE fans from the 2011, 2012, 2013 era who forced themselves to watch what I consider the worst era in WWE history, the John Cena Reign of Terror era. Anyhow, I digress. Guys, we did not do any show prep last night, so this is going to be a true free-for-all FAFO Friday. I worked out till about 9:30. I got a fancy new piece of workout equipment, 2 this week, actually. So I have a full-blown home gym now. Shout out to my boy Johnny Jordan. Came over last night and put together my new leg extension machine for me because it had cables and does all kind of geometric stuff that I would have never figured out with my GED. So shout out to Johnny. Enjoy that Burgers and Blues gift card, my friend. Drink a cold one for me. As a matter of fact, take me and I'll drink a cold one with you. And my other buddy, I gave him a shout out Monday. I had to recruit 2 different friends for 2 different projects, and that's what pays to have friends, right? Shout out to my buddy Brian, the handlebar handyman, came over and put together I'm calling it my torture rack. It's one of those that's got a big cable crossover machine, squat rack, Smith machine, all that good stuff. Pretty cool piece of equipment. But I say all that to say this. I decided to start working out about 8 o'clock last night, and I didn't get through to about 9:30. And I sat down at my desk after eating to do some show prep, and I fell asleep at my desk in my office chair. Woke up around 1 and went and got in bed, and then I overslept this morning. I guess I fell asleep with my phone in my hand trying to set my alarm. And I woke up at 6:05. I'm supposed to be leaving the house by 6:05. Don't ask me how I made it here on time. But hey, with that said, I was listening to the news yesterday. I know what's going on. And sad stuff. I don't want to get on here and gloat about being right, but I do want to come after the people who were hell-bent on being wrong. And being wrong with complete disregard and total lack of respect to everybody in their wake. So they could get some social media clicks and views. Ain't that what y'all tell me? Clay, you only do this for clicks and views. Well, at least I get paid for clicks and views. And I'm rarely am I wrong. And that's why y'all hate me so much. Because my facts are facts. They're not things I just want to be right. There's a big difference. There's no such thing as your facts. Well, these are my facts. No. They're just facts. There's not your facts and my facts. There's just facts. And facts here are, we told you that kid, TREY Reed up in Delta State, we told you sadly that was suicide. Told you that we're the first media outlet in the state to report that there was video. You didn't want to believe it. Refused to believe it. Still out there talking about it was a roving band of white racisms that hung that kid from the tree. Does that even make sense? I mean, really. When was the last time that there was a reported hanging of a black man in a tree in Mississippi? Real talk. Somebody let me know. When was the last reported, confirmed, and let's just call it, for a lack of a better term, lynching, but I don't want just a lynching. I want a specific. When was the last time that a band of white Democrats, because that's what the Klan is, white Democrats. When was the last time a band of white Democrats hung a black man from a tree in Mississippi? Frankly, in the South, but I don't give a care about the rest of the South. Mississippi. It just doesn't happen. It probably, real talk, probably hadn't happened in the last 100 years. But I'll say, just for the sake of arguing with y'all, since the 1960s. And I don't think it happened then. Now, we know there were civil rights. We know there were killings in the civil rights era, the Freedom Riders, all that stuff. Very familiar with that. But when was the last time that a black man was found hanging from a tree due to racism in Mississippi? I mean, Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. I just don't understand why some of y'all are so hell-bent. And, I mean, like, the amount of what feels like, I can't come up with a better term than just disappointment some of y'all showed that this was a suicide and it wasn't racism. You should be glad. We should all be very thankful. God knows I am. I am very thankful that I'm sad it was suicide. I'm sad the young man died. That's terrible. It's terrible that the people around him, the people closest to him, couldn't see the pain he was in. Go look at his Facebook page and read some of his posts. This kid was screaming for help. It's sad that those closest to him didn't see that. And I hate that. I'm not blaming them. Sometimes the people closest to are the ones that miss it. Usually, actually, all the time. That's usually the case. So very sad. But, I don't want to talk about the victim. I want to talk about the crazy people that tried to politicize this and manipulate it into being something that it wasn't, to monetize it, to get their 15 minutes of social media clout, fame, extended family that comes out of nowhere, lawyers that come out of nowhere, content creators that come out of nowhere. I mean, I see even some of the national guys that I follow, some of the black guys who lean conservative, even them, they're like, oh, hanging in Mississippi. Like, nah, bro, that ain't it. I mean, I was sending paying $5 super chats to send to their live feeds to be like, nah, bro, that ain't it. That ain't what happened. Get your story right if you're going to put Mississippi in your mouth. Not what happened. And we should all be very thankful today that we're not having to deal with the fallout of that being a hate crime. We have a very volatile yet close-knit relationship here between the races. We understand the ghost of Mississippi. We understand what that means. I know there's people who say, oh, well, Clay, you get up there every day and talk about black people. I do because I expect to hold black people accountable. You can't sit back and say that everything's about racism when you're not holding up to at minimum your end of the bargain by taking care of your communities in your area and keeping the crime down. You can't blame that on racism. I hold them accountable and I call it out because they constantly blame their problems on racism when we all just simply know that that's not the case. It's lack of accountability culture. So for example, I'm jumping down some rabbit holes here because I want to circle back and talk about this. I want to highlight some of the dumbass comments I've seen from people in my comment section when we confirmed that the state medical examiner confirmed, unbiased, non-political office confirmed that this was in fact a suicide. What was I saying? Oh, yes, we've created these monsters in a lot of these black women here in central Mississippi. They're on Section 8, and there's white versions of this too, but we're not talking about them right now. We created these monsters that are cancel-proof. They can do anything they want. They can say anything they want. They can act any way they want. They can show their ass as much as they want. They can go to jail. They can do everything. But you know what? Their check never gets cut off. They're literally cancel-proof. Unless they just have to go sit down in jail for an extended amount of time. And then I'm guessing that check just piles up in the bank. It's like they've got a savings account waiting on them when they get out of their little time away on lockdown. It's the wildest thing. We're creating cancel-proof terrorists out here in the communities. And like I said, you got white versions of it too, but rarely do I see them throwing a fit in the middle of a restaurant because they got their order wrong, jumping on top of countertops, slinging crap everywhere and twerking. If those videos exist, please send them to me. I would love to highlight them. And I don't mean from outside of the central Mississippi area. See, I don't have to leave the Tri-County area to find videos of that to show you. You got to go to Kentucky, Florida, New York, Chicago. Well, not probably in Chicago. We're talking about white people here. You know what I mean. Find that here and share it with me, because I don't have to go too far to make my case. I don't have to go too far to make my case. But these are the same people who are mad that this wasn't racism. It's mind-boggling to me. Like, I woke up today very grateful that it wasn't a hate crime and we weren't having to deal with the fallout from that. Let's see some of your comments here. Let's put your comments up on the screen. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's see here. Joe, Barbershop Bob says, good morning. Good morning, Bob. Christy on Facebook says, what about the other guy? Did everyone forget about the guy from Brandon? Is that the guy in Vicksburg that hung himself? Well, so when that first happened, when they both first happened, you should have seen my comment section. There were people, you ain't going to talk about the two black men that were killed by white people? Like, immediately across black social media, it was two black men hung on the same day by white people. And I'm just like, bro, that don't happen. That does not happen, much less happen twice in the same day in the same state. It just doesn't happen. You know what does happen almost every day, multiple times, is black on black crime. But nobody's worried about that in that community. That's just the cost of doing business. But boy, they were all ready to band up, wrap up, arms across America the second they thought there was a little hint of racism. And that's what people are fed up with. Christy also says, news said it was a white guy and a black guy hung. What about the white guy? What's the story on him? So what I saw somebody post last night on social media, a rather credible source, a friend of mine that's in the recovery community, said the fella that in Vicksburg had a drug problem, allegedly. I want to make sure I say allegedly. He had gone over there to try to get some help in the recovery community and I guess didn't get it, maybe got, I don't know. I hate to speculate now that I've been learning how to do this. And when we talk about these suicide reports, you know, a very sensitive subject, obviously. But my understanding is, you know, maybe he has some addiction issues, apparently, and he went over to Vicksburg to try to solve those problems. For whatever reason, was not able to maybe get checked into somewhere or something. This is where I'm speculating a little bit. I don't think it's much of a speculation considering what ended up, the end result was him, you know, ending his life. So, sad situation. But that, you know, but nobody's questioning that. Nobody's questioning that. But I saw one lady comment in my post yesterday on Facebook that you want to talk about putting the blinders on. She says no black man would hang himself from a tree. Black men wouldn't do that. I'm like, so a lot of times my understanding on suicide is, depending on the case, especially when it's on purpose and in a public place, is maybe you were being ignored. Maybe you weren't getting the attention that you wanted. Maybe you wanted your death to be talked about. You didn't want to, quote, die in vain. You want to be remembered. Well, if you wanted to be remembered, you wanted your case to be talked about, this is exactly what you would do, is hang yourself from a tree in a very public place. This is exactly what you would do. Sad. It's sad. And, you know, I don't want to talk disparaging about the young man because I know that the cancel culture vultures are out in full speed. You know, like the left is going after the right is going after the left. So I don't want to say anything disparaging that could be taken out of context. But, you know, what his death could have caused a whole lot of problems if it hadn't been debunked so quickly, and if there hadn't have been some security cam footage, or I'm assuming it's security cam footage from the university. So there's that. And I mean, you can take of that and make of that what you will. All right, let's take a break real quick. We'll come back and read some more of your comments. The Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. And I mean, one of the topics I want to get into today is just why does it feel like that there's a particular group of people that have an oppression fetish? Like they're obsessed with being oppressed or thinking they're oppressed. It just does not make sense. Live your life. Nobody's out to get you. Nobody but the tax man is out to get you. Nobody else cares. The police don't care about you unless you're breaking the law. The only person you got to worry about in your day-to-day life as an adult is the tax man. And he don't see color unless Obama's in office and he turns the IRS against conservative groups. But other than that, the tax man don't see race and don't see religion. He just sees dollar bills, y'all. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. I'm live in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios on a FOFO Friday. This is the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back in to the show. That's the Clay Edwards Show. Live here on 103.9 FM, WYAB. Hey, man, if you're looking for something to do tonight, our friend Chip Matthews, who has the Chip Matthews Experience, which that's what it is. It's like an experience, the Chip Matthews Experience. It's a roller coaster ride of emotions every morning right here. Anyhow, Acme Pizza and Daiquiris, Fannin Mart on Old Fannin Road over there on the Reservoir. The Reservoir. It's so funny, man. I listen to the Zone, the sports station. You know, my good friend Jake Wimberly, he's got a show over there, 4 to 6 or 3 to 6 every day, whatever it is. And I love Jake. But the guy that does their voiceover work, or used to do their voiceover work, he may still do it, you can tell it's clearly not from Mississippi. And they'll do these little snippets, whatever you want to call it, little promos, whatever. It's like, the Reservoir. Like, boy, tell me you ain't from here without telling me you ain't from here. When you say reservoir instead of reservoir. So it's like, what is the Reservoir? There's another town that he says wrong, too, that I get a chuckle out of. But I don't hold that against anybody. I say a lot of these Mississippi town names wrong. I just get the ones right that I live by. Anyway, out there on the Reservoir, you got Acme Pizza and Daiquiris, and unfortunately a car drove through the front door. The whole front plate glass area of the pizza place last week. And it's all boarded up. But it is still open. You got to enter in the rear. A lot of y'all like that, I'm sure. You got to enter in the rear. But they do have a drive-through because it's right there in front of the bowling alley. Right there at Acme Pizza and Daiquiris. And it's on the end of Fannin Mart. Anyway, just letting you know they are open. Don't let the boarded up front entrance deter you from getting some of the best pizza in Rankin County. It is open. Of course, they are open for delivery, carry out, all that. You can get your frozen daiquiris to go. You can drive through, get the pig, or you can just enter in the rear and get your pizza and daiquiris and great food and all that good stuff. There is no live entertainment this weekend while it's under reconstruction. But anyhow, swing by, check them out. Acme Pizza and Daiquiris. Chip wanted me to make sure that y'all knew they were in fact open. Don't let the boarded up entrance deter you. Like I said, Chip's always wanted a place where you could enter in the rear. So he finally got one, and that's Acme Pizza and Daiquiris. Oh, shout out to Jaded there. Chip will get it. Chip knows what I'm talking about. I'm playing. They did some good pizza over there. I can't wait for the text message from Chip about this one. Shut up. Anyway, what else was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So I was pulling up my Facebook. I want to stay on topic here. Y'all don't let me get off topic. So let me go to Facebook, and I want to read some of the comments. Because they must have been, I didn't read many of them, but they must have been off the hinges, full of racisms from one particular group that doesn't look like me. And because people were texting me and saying, man, the people that follow you are absolutely insane. Why do they want this to be a hate crime so bad? Because it justifies their existence, their failures, everything. It just, anytime that you have a situation like that, that puts a magnifying glass on everything. That's, oh, see, this is why we don't have grocery stores in our community. This is why we live in food deserts. This is why we kill each other. This is why crime is so bad in our cities that Trump's going to have to send the National Guard, and it's all because of some racism. I mean, even if that was the case, I mean, wouldn't y'all, instead of killing each other, maybe just kill the other people? Like, go after and return the favor? I mean, if it's war, I mean, if it's a race war, I mean, why would you kill your own men in this war? I don't know. I'm just saying. Why would you kill soldiers on your side? Why wouldn't you go out and kill the other folks? That's why I always chuckle when they talk about, people talk about race war and this, that, and the other. Like, y'all can't stop killing each other for 5 minutes to get on the same team. The north side and the south side ain't coming together for anything. Sub 1, Sub 2 versus the Queens. That don't how it work. That ain't how it work. The blue versus red, Bloods versus Crips. They ain't gonna put the guns down from being pointed at each other to point them at nobody else. I mean, just real talk. I mean, I watch the news. I can see things. Don't tell me don't believe my lying eyes. Anyway, let me working my way to my post here. 225 comments, 725 likes. So here's what I posted. I said, breaking news. The death of Trey Reed has been officially ruled a suicide by the politically unbiased Mississippi Medical Examiner. Hopefully, this will silence all the talk of foul play or even worse, potential hate crime talk. The ghost of Mississippi's past needs to stay in the past, and shame on the national media and outside agitators on social media for trying to kick that hornet's nest for clicks and views. I love referring to Democrats as outside agitators. Oh, they don't like that, son. They don't like it. DeWitt Deweese says, I'm waiting for Benny Thompson's apology. Let's see here. I'm just reading down the comments from top to bottom. Some may be in agreement. Some are going to be in disagreement. It says, regardless, the right thing to do was to have an independent investigation. There should never be a possibility of doubt left behind, regardless of the outcome. The FBI and every crime, there is an independent investigation. The state and the FBI, I mean, it was all hands on deck on this thing. I mean, who do you want to come in and be the independent investigator? Wild Bill texts in and says the family's hired a civil rights attorney. Oh, I'm sure they have. I mean, look, families a lot of the time are going to be in denial about a family member killing themselves, because then sometimes the family has to take a deep look at themselves and the fact that they missed this and that their loved one would never do this. And I understand that. It's sad. It truly is. And again, my comments this morning have zero to do with the young man who lost his life, who was struggling. I said this yesterday. I'm going to say it again today. Young men, if you are the parent of a young man, you need to put your arms around that young man. You need to make sure he's got some good, strong male role models in his life. Wherever that can come from, hopefully his dad. But you need to find some good, strong male role models. Get him in jiu-jitsu. Something like that. So go see my boy Anthony Mitchell out at Precision Jiu-Jitsu there in Gluckstadt. Go see my buddy Chance Shepard at at Gracie School, at Gracie South. Get them in some combat sport stuff. Let them learn how to be a man. Let them learn some combat skills. Let him get, if his third place ain't church, let his third place become that jiu-jitsu studio or something like it. Reach out to my buddy Tyler Tharp. Let it, out at Big River Ballistics. Let him, Tyler's a shooting expert, Synergy Firearms Training. Let him learn how to shoot. Let him get around some men, a group of men, and let them help mold him a little bit. Be a good influence in his life. He can have a fourth place: home, work or school, church, and that fourth thing, instead of being in front of a video game, which I have no problem with video games. There's a time and a place for personal enjoyment. Let it be a shooting school or firearms or combat, karate, boxing, jiu-jitsu, whatever. But let that, young men are struggling now more than ever. Young men have been under attack for the last decade, really longer than that, but especially the last decade. We have allowed the media, we've allowed social media, we've allowed influencers, the government, everybody to attack young men and say it's wrong to be a young man. It's wrong to be a man. You should be feminine. You should be cuck. You should be gay. You should be trans. You should be anything but a high testosterone male. They want to keep you eating in the center of the grocery store. Don't eat that red meat. That's bad. You should be eating vegan. You should be a vegetarian. Eat that salad. Don't eat that steak. That's why so many young men are so frail and small. Got them on these terrible North American diets. But anyway, I jumped down a rabbit hole there. But the young man TREY, very skinny dude. Just a little guy. Just fits the profile of a young man that may have been struggling. I see it all the time, and I feel so bad for him. Girls, apparently dating right now as a young man with all these dating apps is extremely difficult because women have lost their base of reality when it comes to expectations of what they think they should be dating versus what really wants to date them. Because so many simps have overtaken their mentions, their DMs, and everything that it's just a bad deal, man. This is really where I need to be uncensored and unedited to say what I really want to say. Let's take a call here on the Mazda Jackson phone line real quick. Then we got to take a break. Hey, you're on the air.
Hey, this is Audie Clay in Tupelo, Mississippi. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing fine. There's a certain group of people that want to keep this race thing stirred up.
Oh yeah, but they make a living off of it. It's the black for a living Democrat racists and the white liberals.
And I don't know what we could do about it.
I don't either. We just got to. We do exactly what we're doing this morning. Anytime that they're wrong about something, we make sure they know they're wrong about it. And we make sure everybody knows they're wrong about it. And we point out the fact that, again, they overreacted. And, again, they need to turn the mirror back at their own community and look at all the death, destruction, and violence going on there at their own hands before they start trying to blame any problems on anybody else.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you listening up there in Tupelo. Tell everybody Clay Edwards said thank you.
Yes, sir.
Have a blessed one. We got to take a break real quick. We'll be right back here on WYAB. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show, live here on WYAB. This segment brought to you by Burgers, Blues, Barbecue. Their tailgate menu, that's right, it's football season, guys. It's been a long week. It's been a rough 2 weeks out here in the culture war. Just sad. You got the stuff nationally. You got stuff locally. Just everybody's on pins and needles. One great thing that we have in the South, well, the whole country, but I live in the South, and football, well, it just means more here. One thing that brings us together and doesn't tear us apart, well, okay, it does tear us apart too, let's just be honest. But for fun reasons. Anyhow, you got football, you got high school football, you got college football, you even got pro football. and you got tailgating. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, whatever. Everybody loves a good tailgate. Everybody loves good food. And Burgers Blues Barbecue has got their tailgate menu that you can swing by. You can call. You got to call in advance. Let them know you want it so they can get it ready for you. And swing by today, this afternoon, before you're heading out to the game tonight. Maybe you're going to Brandon, Pearl. I don't even know who's got a home game, who doesn't. I ain't looked at the schedule. If you're going, you know where they're playing at. Swing by one of the 3 great locations. Again, call in advance and pick up one of the great tailgate platters from Burgers Blues Barbecue. You can get the B3 party packs. You can get the bulk barbecue. You can go to a burger bar. A burger bar, I tell you. You can do a barbecue bar. How about a taco bar? How about a brisket bar? A barbecue condiment tray. Okay, sorry. That's all your side dishes. A nacho bar, red beans and rice, smoked wings, chicken bites, B3 sliders, brisket and rotel with tortilla chips. A tray of it's $100, but it feeds 25 people. What about queso and tortilla chips? Like their homemade queso, some of the best queso I've ever had. Their chips, they make their chips fresh in-house, and they're salted just perfectly. Oh, my God, they are so good. To not be a Mexican restaurant, they are fabulous. They may be better than any Mexican restaurant, or right up there with El Patrillo anyway. They are really, really good tortilla chips. You can get a tray of queso and tortilla chips for just $50, and it feeds 25 people. You can't go to the grocery store and buy enough Totino's queso, the glass things. You can't buy enough of those to feed 25 people for $50. Go get some good homemade stuff. Man, I could go on and on. They got desserts. They got it all. Go to burgersblues.com, hit the menu tab, and then hit the tailgate menu. And check them out. And, of course, don't forget, they're open for lunch today at all 3 great locations. The Blue Plate special of the day is fried catfish, as well as red beans and rice with sausage, or hamburger steak with 2 sides. And they're open for breakfast this morning at the Madison location, right there on Main Street in Madison. That's Burgers Blues Barbecue, Madison, Flowwood at Dogwood, and downtown Brandon. You can order on their website for delivery or carry out. That's right, delivery from their website. You don't have to go to DoorDash. You don't have to go to Take a Break. You don't have to go to any other third-party site. You can do it right there from their website. And if you get delivery, it's going to send it straight to Take a Break. It cuts the middleman out. They become the middleman for you. burgersblues.com. All right, man, I want to jump back to the topic at hand. I did get a great text real quick. My buddy Joe sent this in. He was answering the question. He Googled when the last time there was a lynching in Mississippi. Now, so according to Google, the last lynching of a black person in Mississippi occurred on April 13th, 1937, when Roosevelt Towns and Robert McDaniels were lynched in Duck Hill by a white mob after being accused of murdering a white storekeeper. The men were kidnapped from the courthouse, tortured with a blowtorch, and then McDaniels was shot and Towns was burned alive. The date was April 13th, 1937, Duck Hill, Mississippi. All right. Then, of course, Emmett Till was shot and killed in 1955, but he was not hung. And I said, yeah, I'm going to use that when I get back. The closest thing I could find about the only recent times hate crime I could think of was, yeah, we all know the situation that happened with Deadman and them back about 15 years or so ago when the boys came over from Rankin County and ran over the black man. Terrible situation. And they paid dearly for that. So, I mean, I guess what really chaps my butt is the fact that people think the state of Mississippi, that law enforcement would somehow cover this up if it was a hate crime. In the modern times, they're not covering that stuff up. I mean, do you think, for example, let's look at the Goon Squad. And I hate to continue to have to tear that scab off. If the state was going to cover something up, I'm pretty sure that would have been the one. Oh, no, we got to cover this up. The damage this could do to the trust of law enforcement, to the community, to all that stuff, we got to cover this up. That would have been the thing that got covered up. They didn't. They faced it head on. I mean, some of y'all may not like Brian Bailey's response, reaction, whatever. But this had nothing to do with him. This had to do with the state, the law enforcement, the feds coming in and fixing this. The Deadman deal. Them boys paid dearly. There was no attempt to cover that up. We faced it head on. As bad as it got. Man, that was pre-social media too. Could you imagine what would have happened there? If that had happened in the social media times, it would have been, there would have been blood in the streets other than his. So my point being, like, the audacity of people to think that there's some big cover up to somehow protect some roving band of racists that would have the audacity to hang a black man from a tree on the campus at Delta State. I know a lot of y'all are ate up with conspiracy theoryism, but that's a big ask to believe. I know you want to believe it. I know you want to believe in the Tooth Fairy. You want to believe in Santa Claus. I do too. I believe that there were aliens. I don't even believe we're from this planet. And I don't believe that. I believe our spaceship broke down flying from somewhere else, crash landed here, and we habitated this MFR. I believe crazy stuff like that. Ancient alien theory, 100%. You'll never convince me otherwise. But I don't believe that a roving band of racists hung a black man from a tree in the middle of a college campus in 2025. You got to base your argument somewhere in reality, and that is based nowhere near reality. That's like some Juicy Smollett shenanigans right there. We got about a minute before we got to take our next break. Let's pull up some of your comments online here. I'm kind of running behind on them, so maybe a little behind. Let's see here. Isaac says, Otis Bird in 2015 had FBI involved, but determined it wasn't a hate crime either. I remember that name, Otis Bird. I'm going to have to Google that one during the break. Let's see here. A to Z says, foundational black America is creating uprisings across the board. Just saying, have a great morning. You too, brother. CJ says, for someone who disagrees, deport them. A to Z, patriot freedom fighters all the way. We the people. Yep. Susan wants me to comment on the demise of the Jackson Zoo. Susan, I think I commented on that yesterday, but we got a whole nother hour to go this morning, so maybe we'll circle back to the zoo. Oh, my buddy Greg, watching on YouTube, says, it's so sad that the narrative of black people don't kill themselves was pushed. Mental health issues affect everyone. God bless this young man's family. It's very, very sad. Yeah, there's this myth that black people don't commit suicide. I remember some of y'all may remember the black fella that would call in here from New York, and we agreed on some stuff, but he kept trying to push this narrative that I was ignoring suicide in the white community, that suicide in the white community was a bigger issue than black on black crime. That if I was going to talk about black on black crime, I had to also talk about white suicide. I'm like, well, theoretically, suicide is not a crime. It technically only affects one person other than, the immediate family. It affects everybody, but you know what I mean? You can't predict suicide. We'll be right back. All right, I'm going to stay with y'all during the break here. I want to read some more of your comments here. Oh, hey, let's see. The National Alliance of, I can't read the Aryan Brotherhood. Good Lord, how did we end up with Aryan Brotherhood on here? Well, hell, I've already got it pulled up. The white guy at Ameristar supposedly had a drug problem and gambled his last money away. Well, that's basically what I heard. You said it. Richard says, was the guy in Vicksburg black? No, he was white. But they tried to say he was black at first. That was the thing. But the second that he was white, then nobody said another word about it. Oh, that was suicide. Not a single question. Because blacks don't want to accept the fact that blacks would actually commit suicide. That's just a huge myth. As a matter of fact, let's Google it real quick, shall we? Let's Google it real quick. Somebody just replied back to me, no. What was a no to? What's that in response to? What's that in response to? All right, so let's go to chat. Let's go to Grok. It works better. Grok, what are the suicide rates of black people in America?
In 2023, the overall suicide rate for Black or African American folks was about 7.7 per 100,000, lower than the national average, but it's climbed fast. For Black males, that's 4 times higher than females, hitting around 11, while women sits near 3. Teens and young adults are spiking hardest. Black girls aged 15 to 24 jumped over 130% since 2099. Poverty, racism, and less access to mental health care are big drivers. Posts on X echo frustration about stigma and fatherlessness too. If you're asking for someone specific, resources like the 988 hotline are there.
All right, thank you. So I don't know if y'all could hear that. I'm going to save that for the top of hour 2. Let me see how far I am before we come back from break here. That was really good information. All right, I'm going to read it again. No, I'm not. Yeah, screw it. I'm sorry, you guys. When y'all watch online and I talk during the breaks, you're getting extra content that nobody else is. But sometimes we stumble off into really good content and we got to take it back to radio. So I just said, Grok, what are the suicide rates for black people in America? In 2023, the overall suicide rate for black or African American folks was about 7.7%. 7.7 per 100,000. So 8 suicides for every 100,000 people is how I'm reading that. Wow, that seems really high. That's basically like if you took a football stadium full of people, like 100,000 stadium, like Michigan, one of the big ones, 8 of those people are going to kill themselves. Man, that's wild if you look at it like that. All right, I'm going to quit reading this because I'm only about 30 seconds coming back from the break. I'll read a couple more of your comments, and we'll shelve that to the top of hour 2. William says, everybody will believe a lie with no proof, but will refute all the truth when it goes against what they thought. That is one of the truest statements. It is so hard to get somebody to convince that they got lied to. Look at the COVID and vaccine stuff. People that were diehard about the vaccine just cannot admit they got duped. All right, I got to go quiet for a second. We're getting ready to come back from the commercial, and I'm going to stay with y'all during the top of the hour break as well. All right, guys, we got about 20 seconds here, and we got to go to our top of the hour break. We're going to stay with the folks online, and I got some very interesting statistics from Grok, from AI, about suicide in the African American community that is going to blow your minds and debunk everything they're saying. That and more in 7 minutes. Don't go anywhere. All right, let's read some more of you guys' comments here. I do appreciate everybody tuning in this morning. If y'all would, man, hit the like button wherever you're watching at right now. Just hit that little like button for your boy. It helps us with the algorithm. It truly does, especially on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button. Is that too much to ask? I'm giving y'all some fire content this morning. You ain't getting no other white boy in America talking about this kind of stuff on the radio. Nobody else is doing this, or the internet probably. You know, we ain't scared here to have tough conversations. As long as they're based in reality, they can't be racist. We're having a reality-based conversation this morning. We are not scared to discuss uncomfortable statistics and facts on the Clay Edwards Show. I don't care whose feelings they hurt. All right, continuing on here. Susan says suicide watch number 988. What is that? What is that number, Susan? Richard, too bad he didn't make it to the rehab in Rayville, Louisiana. Daniel says, yeah, I had a post Sorry, somebody keeps calling, and I don't answer the phone during the break. Daniel says, yeah, I had a post about it from World Star Hip Hop saying it was a lynching. People were commenting saying white people are really trying to start a race war. I saw that too. And that was kind of the platform I was talking about when I brought all this up. They're very disgusting. Lloyd says the craziest thing being said was it wasn't all about the facts, but it was about emotions. Sorry, but it is all about the facts. 100% is about the facts. Isaac Morgan asked what radio channel. It's 103.9 in Central Mississippi. 103.9 FM. Katrina, watching in Hattiesburg. Katrina, thank you so much. Hit that share button for me. My boy Damien. What's up, Damien? Watching on Facebook. Says they're absolutely obsessed with being the victims. It's crazy. It is. And, I mean, that's why they always – so I was talking to a buddy of mine last night, because we go hard here on this show. Like, we don't pull any punches. We talk about this race stuff. We have real conversations. The same conversations y'all have between yourselves, we have out loud here on this show. Because this is what everybody's thinking. We might as well just talk about it. Pull the curtain back, rip the scab off, and talk about it. Man, they're going to call me a racist no matter what I say, because I don't agree with their narrative. So if they're going to call me a racist for trying to tiptoe around the facts, they're going to call me that same racist for running straight through a brick wall with my facts. So if I'm looking at what do I get the most ROI out of, I get the most ROI out of running. Always wanting to be the victim. That's what we see. That's the people in the comments that are mad this wasn't a hate crime. Black people. And some white liberals. Legitimately mad that this wasn't a hate crime. You should be celebrating today that it wasn't a hate crime and praying for the young man that lost his life. All right, we're about 30 seconds from the intro starting back. So I'm going to go silent here, and we're going to pick back up where we left off. Y'all don't go anywhere. Hit the share button, please. Hit the like button if you're on YouTube. Hit the share if you're on Facebook. Boom goes Let Out Dynamite. It's hour 2. The most incendiary show on the RADIO. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards. It's a FA-FO Friday here on the Clay Edwards Show. That means F around and find out. And you can swing by my website today and buy you a FAFO Clay Edwards Show shirt at buyfafo.com. I'm throwing them up on the screen now for those watching online. There you go right there. That's that army green. Love that. Or military green. Love that shirt. Best looking one we have with the full color American flag on one sleeve and my logo on the other. It's also available in black with a black and white American flag instead of full color. And we got several hats available as well. The FAFO full logo, but on black and white hat. The camo with the stacked logo on the side. And we got a bunch of brown and khaki ones as well with different versions of the logo. You can see them all at buyfafo.com. This segment brought to you by our friends at 042 Wine and Spirits. Guys, we talked about burgers, blues, barbecue, and the tailgate packages, tailgate catering packages. You know, what else goes well with a tailgate catering package? Your favorite bottle of bourbon, vodka, or whatever your spirit of choice is. You know me? I like my Fireball, but I like a good bourbon too. I have expanded my taste buds a little bit. Swing by. They got it all there at Burgers, not Burgers. they have liquor at Burgers, Blues, Barbecue too. But they got it all there at 042 Wine and Spirits right next to Sonny's Barbecue, Highway 80 in Crossgates, Brandon. 042. It's in the name. It's 042 Brandon, not the fake Brandon, not 047. 042. Try the bottle of Penelope Project X small batch bourbon. It is the 042 exclusive. They're the only place in the state with it. And I got me a bottle of it. I bought it. They can't give me free liquor. I bought a bottle of it. It is awesome. About $70. It's worth every penny. You want to be the hot shot guy at the tailgate? Show up with a bottle of that Penelope Project X. Google how to sound like I know what I'm talking about at a bourbon tasting, and you will look like the most interesting man in the world. I did it. It worked for me. It's available at 042 Wine and Spirits. They've also got a few bottles left of their Four Roses small batch with the 042 logo on it. It's one of the most desired of the 10 Four Roses recipes also. All right, man, let's jump back into it. We're talking this morning about the sad situation up there at Delta State where a young man took his life. And unfortunately, social media decided to politicize this and try to make it a hate crime and refuse. There's just a side of social media that refuses to believe that this young man took his own life, that a black man would never take his own life. A black man would never hang himself from a tree. Like, it's sacrilegious to do that. He would never do that, but he did. And I understand that that's hard for some people to wrap their heads around, and I understand that some people have an oppression fetish and just refuse to accept that anything like this can happen, but it did. And you just got to move on from it. But I decided to ask AI, because there's just this insinuation in my comment section that black men don't kill themselves. And that's just patently false. Patently false. So let's read what exactly Grok said. I just simply asked, because I like to let y'all know how I asked the question. I'm not manipulating the data like the school folks people, the school choice people who tell you 70% of Mississippians want school choice when the way they ask the question is, do you think parents should have say-so in their children's education? Well, yeah. Well, that's not asking people if they want school choice. That's not explaining what school choice is and then asking people if they want it. Anyway, so I like to let you know exactly how I got the answer that I got. So I said, Grok, what are the suicide rates for black people in America? Very cut and dry. No manipulating the question. Says in 2023, the overall suicide rate for black or African American folks was about 7.7 per 100,000. So about 8 people per 100,000. So about every 8 out of every 100,000 African Americans, 8 commit suicide. Said that is lower than the national average, but it's climbing fast. For black males, that's 4 times higher than females, hitting around 11, while women's sits near 3. Teens, and here's to the example of what happened up in Delta State. Teens and young adults are spiking the hardest. Black girls aged 15 to 24 jumped over 130% since 2099. Since 2099. Since 2099. Since 2000, maybe it means 2009. They blame poverty, racism, and less access to mental health care as being big drivers. How is racism a driver? Racism doesn't exist on them. Like, nobody's racist towards black people. Like, that's the media. That is the media convincing them that racism is waiting around every corner to jump out and get them like a boogeyman. Just black folks walking down the street, minding their own business, and boom, some racism jump out around the corner. Boogie woogie! Boogie woogie woogie! That's the media. The media is doing that. There's no racism out there preventing black people from doing anything. Continuing on. Poverty, racism, and less access to mental health care are big drivers. The last one being the biggest, the access to mental health care, is a big reason in African American communities, because they bully and shame people into thinking that it's weak to get mental health care. And it ain't just in the black community either. It's in the white community as well, depending on which part of the community you're in. It says a post on X echo frustration and stigma and fatherlessness too. So a lot of black people are saying that fatherlessness in the community is a driver for their suicide rates. That's interesting. If you're asking for some specific resources like the 988 hotline are there. Oh, okay, so somebody mentioned that Susan had mentioned in the comments that the suicide number was 988. I know what she meant now. I didn't realize she was talking about the phone number. I thought she was telling me that 988 people have committed suicide. I'm like, what was that? What's the context there? Sorry. I got a lot of information flying at me fast from the computer screen to my phone to everything else. If you guys want to call in this morning, somebody called a couple times at the end of the last hour. I couldn't get you on. Call back. The Mazda Jackson phone line is 601-879-0002. Let me talk to, this is going to sound like an ad read, and it's not. This is dead serious. Y'all know how passionate I am about testosterone. I want to talk to adults here for a minute. Adult males. Let's just say 35 and older, give or take. If you're depressed, if you're having thoughts of suicide, I'm telling you from somebody who was dealing with it myself at the point where I started my testosterone, go get your levels checked. Just go make sure you're chemically balanced, right? That your hormones are right, that your testosterone level is right. It could save your life. It could save your life. Just text my name, Clay, to 601-800-5130, and I'll get you a free testosterone check. Again, I know it sounds like I'm doing an ad read. I guess it is, but I'm being dead serious. Males, low testosterone in males can cause a lot of depression, and getting that right can save your life. And I am living proof of that because I was in a very deep, dark place when I got on testosterone, and my numbers were sub 300. And since then, I have really not had any bouts with depression except one. And that was, at the end of a relationship that went bad and just all kind of other factors. But generally speaking, I've not been in a very dark place at all. Let's take a call here on the Mazda Jackson phone line. Hey, you're on the air. Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Hey, you're on there.
Yeah, Mike Magazine. How you doing this morning?
Hey, Angela, how you doing?
Listen, I caught the part where you were talking about you got in on Chat GPT or Grok or however you use it.
Yeah, I use Grok, but I mean it's all the same thing.
In the black community on our side of town, I grew up knowing that nobody really wanted to address mental health awareness because they had already had a designated person in each family who they deemed crazy. So to try and go and see about yourself is like a no-no. But it's picking up, though, because we're having more people, and I raised my sons, hey, go and see about yourself. I raised my daughter, go see about yourself. And, so we understand that you have to get that thing under control and that it is possible that you could be battling with something.
Well,
I don't
remember,
care if you go do talk therapy. You talk to somebody.
Well, remember Simone Biles backed out of the Olympics because she was having a mental health problem, and a lot of people, especially on the conservative side, made fun of her and humiliated her and shamed her for backing out of the Olympics. Like, how dare you? And I'm like, man, I say y'all got to pick your battles. And I don't think that's one of them. You should be picking them. And she's telling you she's having a mental health issue. It takes a lot of courage, I think, to come out and say you're battling some mental health stuff. And it's unfortunate that it coincided with the Olympics and she had to back out of that. But you know what? At least she handled it. And I'm not a big Simone Biles fan, whatever, but because of some of her political stuff, but I'm not going to mess with her on this mental health stuff. So I am seeing more high profile people in the black side come out and talk about take a mental health day. Get your mind right, get your head right. So you are seeing it turn some in the community, at least what I'm seeing in the public.
During COVID, we found out that there's a term they're deeming burnout. Burnout is even considered a mental health type of ordeal. Go and see about yourself. If you need to take some vacation days, I'm going to tell you something. Some people will just collect those vacation days and never take them. They're there for a reason. And I always want to encourage people, go and see about your mental health. That's all I wanted to say.
I'm glad you did. Always great hearing from you, Angela. All right, whoever was calling back while we were on there, call back. The phone line is open. If I can't see your name on the caller ID, I don't answer. So if you're calling while I got somebody else on the phone, caller ID ain't working. Backup line 2's caller ID don't work. So we don't put numbers on that we can't see. 601-879-0002 is the Mazda of Jackson phone line. We're up against the break, so let's take that. If you call, I'm going to put you on hold. Don't hang up. We'll come straight to you after the break. Online, I'm staying with y'all. We're going to jump back into reading your comments during the break. This is the Clay Edwards Show, live from the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios. Guys, I'm serious. Take advantage of that free testosterone screening. If you're dealing with some depression right now, that is one of the things that testosterone can 100% help, is it gets you back mentally tight. It truly does. I'm being dead serious there. 601-800-5130. Just text Clay, and they'll get you an appointment today for a free screening. We'll be right back. All right, let's jump back into the comments here. I'm just going to pick up where I left off and kind of running down. And you guys are on fire this morning. The comments are just scrolling. I love it, man. I love it. I love when we have engaged conversation. Let's see here. Chris Lynn says, very true. I'm not sure, but thank you. John says, and 30-year-olds. Must be talking about like what I was talking about, like the testosterone stuff. John says, Mississippi has a huge mental health problem. It does. And me and Sean Tyndall, Department DPS Commissioner, talked about that. Y'all should go back and listen to Wednesday's show. I had DPS Commissioner Sean Tyndall on. And that was one of the things we talked about was a lack of funding for mental asylums, like insane asylums is what they call them. I mean, people might not like the name. Oh, it's insensitive to say insane. Well, you know what? Maybe it is, but we didn't have nearly the problem that we're having now. With mental health issues and crazy people out on the streets. We need to get back to putting money into these mental health facilities because it is a big, big problem. We're trying to fight addiction the wrong ways. So much. Like some people are just crazy and they have paranoid schizophrenia. And I mean, two different things here. We're talking about people dealing with depression and people dealing with mental health, like legitimate mental health problems, like with paranoid schizophrenia. But we are ignoring mental health in this state, at least to a level that I would consider. Like, most people don't even know where to take somebody if they're having a mental breakdown. People just think Whitfield. You don't just go check in Whitfield. You got to get checked into it. You got to get sent to Whitfield. You don't just decide you want to go take somebody to Whitfield. That ain't how it works. Like, Whitfield is the mental, it's where you get sent by a judge. You don't just get to go to Whitfield. And like, I'm guessing, is there another Whitfield in any other part of the state, or is that the only one? And it ain't that big, relatively speaking. We need to take this very seriously. We need to the legislature needs to take a serious look at funding mental health in Mississippi and some mental health asylums. So I want to read this from the Aryan Brotherhood here. They say, just want to put it out that Clay Edwards or his show are not affiliated or endorsed by us. We are here solely on our own. I do appreciate clearing the air there. Hey, look, man, I'm glad. I don't care who listens to this show. I'm glad y'all are listening. I'm glad you're in the comments participating. If anybody on the other end of that wants to jump in, you're welcome too. Black Lives Matter wants to jump in and conversate. I think we have a problem in this country of wanting to ignore people who think different or have extreme views or whatever. And I think you end up creating radicalizing or far right and far left people when you never invite people to the table to have a conversation. I think people should absolutely come to the table and have conversations, and then just let the public make up its mind. Clay Travis always talks about the marketplace of ideas. And that's why we shouldn't ban anything on social media. Let people put what they believe out there, and the good ideas will rise to the top, and the bad ideas will go to the bottom. The marketplace of ideas should 100% situate anything like that. And I'm a firm believer. I am a free speech absolutist, even if it's speech I don't like. That's why the Charlie Kirk assassination is so, that hurts. Because look, Charlie didn't say anything I really disagreed with, that I'm aware of. I wasn't a big Charlie Kirk follower. He was like the milk and cookies conservative. He wasn't a threat by any stretch. Where am I at? But they killed that guy over what they called hate speech. No. There's a difference in hate speech and speech you hate. We're back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. I was on a burner during the break there. So if you heard me ranting over the intro music, I apologize. But just talking about people on the left and people on the right, everybody wanting to cancel everybody. And what's hate speech and what's free speech? And look, I'm a free speech absolutist. I don't care if you're saying things I don't like. Just don't get mad when I say things you don't like. If I got to tolerate you, you got to tolerate me. And I think that's the way it is. I'm watching on YouTube, the National Alliance of the Aryan Brotherhood is in the comments. And people are like, oh my God, the Aryan Brotherhood's watching. Well, you need to allow everybody to participate in conversation. When you don't allow people to participate in conversation, you create stuff like that. I believe in the marketplace of ideas. I think everybody should be able to come to the table, put their thoughts and opinions out there, and the marketplace of ideas will decide what survives. If it's a good idea, it'll move to the top. If it's a bad idea, it'll go to the bottom. The public will decide. I don't think banning either side, any speech is a good idea. We saw it during the Joe Biden administration. Hate speech. Oh, that's hate speech. Well, who determines what hate speech is? Like I was just saying about Charlie Kirk. They said that, he got killed because of hate speech. No. There's a difference in hate speech and speech you hate. Big difference. If I have to tolerate your hate speech, then you got to tolerate mine. But who determines what hate speech is? Let's not forget, and I brought this up yesterday, that the Biden administration put a misinformation czar in place. We all know, what was it called during that movie, during 1984? The Ministry of Truth. But she was going to determine what we could even put on social media. She was going to work with the social media companies to basically ban anybody that wasn't going along 100% with what the White House, the bunch of diversity hire, CRT, DEI, nut jobs, LGBTQ, rainbow supremacists that were running the White House the last 4 years. They were going to determine what was hate speech. And I can assure you that anybody with a testosterone level above about -10, any thoughts and feelings that you had were going to be considered hate speech. Reading some text here. Let's see here. Jerry, if you're watching live, my email is clay@wyab.com. And that goes for anybody. My email is clay@wyab.com. I had a text there from Kelly out at Cypress Point, which reminds me, if y'all are wanting just a phenomenal, unique lunch today, get out to Cypress Point. It is ribeye steak sandwich Friday. It is a 16-ounce ribeye steak dinner. Put between a homemade bun. They make the buns fresh there daily. And you get a side of fries with it. It's $18, 19. Just round it up to $20 after tax. And I'm telling you, I am not kidding. You can either take half of it home and eat it later, or you can split it with whoever you're eating with. Or you can be a fat ass like me and just eat the whole thing, and it ruined the rest of your day. You go lay down and take a nap. Any of those ideas all sound great. It's available on the menu until 2 o'clock. but if you're nice, you probably get it after 2. I don't know. I don't want to put words in their mouth. But swing by Cypress Point out there in Rankin County. They got the drive-through safari. They got everything. They got a bunch of great live entertainment this weekend. Check out their Facebook page, Cypress Point Resort. See what's going on at Cameron's Garage. See who's playing in the tavern, the steakhouse. It's always something great going on at Cypress Point Resort, formerly McLean's Lodge. But I get out there, and I'm thinking about going and eating lunch there today myself. That ribeye steak sandwich. I'm on a diet, but, man, it is just so good. I think once a week it's all right to treat yourself. Treat yourself, boo-boo. Let's continue reading some of the comments here. The phone line, look, man, I know there's some poor soul that has called like 3 or 4 times now, and they just call it the worst time when I'm going into a commercial break. But the phone line's open, and we got about 4 or 5 minutes before the next commercial break. So if you want to call in now. The Mazda Jackson phone line, 601-879-0002. John, watching on YouTube, says, since these aren't lynchings and suicides, maybe we can talk about the mental health in Mississippi. There may be a stigma still here. Yeah, and these comments are running behind because I started at the top, worked my way down. Yeah, John, if you're still listening, you know that we did, in fact, hit that. So, yeah, big problem in mental health issues in Mississippi right now. My boy Ty says, TGIF, I need a beer already. Man, I've done so good. I hadn't had a beer all week. I had a couple of beers Sunday. Hadn't had a beer all week. I quit drinking during the week, and I basically quit drinking on the weekends while I'm trying to get in shape. But a cold beer does sound good every now and then. Let's see here. Charles Boykin says, good morning. Good morning to you, Charles. Kevin says, I did it for the last 10 years. It shows so Kevin did some research here on suicide, it looks like. Says, it shows a 29% increase for blacks aged 10 to 44 years of age, and whites declined by 14% in the same time frame. Yeah, look, man, the black community needs to take a good look at the suicide and pull their heads out of the sand and say, hey, we've got a problem with suicides in this community. I was watching a little video that came out. Look, I follow a lot of black stuff online because I'm really intrigued by black culture and what's going on in that community because I live in Jackson. I live right by Jackson. I live right next door to and lived in the blackest city in America my whole life. You know, so I was entrenched into that culture, owning a nightclub that catered to 99% African-American people for 10 plus years. My dad owned a store on Lynch Street, and we did business with predominantly, overwhelmingly black people for 40 plus years. You know, I'm very interested in the black community and the demise of it in a lot of ways over the last few years and kind of what's happened in a large portion of the urban black community. So I follow a lot of this stuff online because I think when we get further removed from this particular moment in time, there's going to be classes at universities taught about the fall of the black community and how it was not due to racism, how it was due to an oppression fetish, politics, money, materialism, and racism, but racism from within. But I was following this video. I watched this video, what I was trying to say, this young black man, probably about the same age as the fellow who killed himself up there at Delta State. And it was Anton Daniels, a content creator, black content creator that I follow, who's really, really good. Streamed the video and did a little narration with it. And the guy was gay. And he was talking about how much he hated black men for bullying him his whole life. And this kid was raised without a father. His talked about his mother, the different boyfriends in his mother's life, and how there was only like one of them who was nice to him. It was just really sad, man. I really felt bad for the kid. I shared it with Kim Wade, and I shared my true feelings about it. I said, man, I really feel bad for this kid because he talked about how black boys bullied him to death, basically. I mean, this guy's going to be somebody that commits a mass shooting or kills himself over being bullied for being gay or he wasn't quote unquote gay in high school, But he was very feminine. He's one of those that, nobody was surprised when he came out. Everybody already knew, one of those type. And that's fine. I mean, there's people like that. It is what it is. I truly do believe, I don't know if you want to say quote unquote born gay, but there's definitely kids who are raised with nothing but around women, and they're super feminine. And it's just a natural progression to be gay. Again, I don't think there's a gay gene. I don't believe in that. But I do believe there's something very close to it, and it's called rearing and grooming. Grooming can come from your family, come from your mom, your auntie, your sisters. If you're the only male in the house, you're going to be hard pressed to have a strong male role model. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I know plenty of straight, high testosterone, manly men who were raised by a single mom that are just fine. I mean, so there's no 100% one way or the other. But I mean, your odds of being a strong, manly man, whatever you want to, your definition of that, whatever your definition of that is, and that's different for everybody. There's still a strong, the likelihood, that's what I'm looking for. The likelihood of you being that is a lot higher if you have a strong male role model in the house. Anyway, my point being, this kid is one of millions that is like that, that's being raised without that strong father figure, that strong male influence in the house, in the urban community. Again, these are just statistical facts. It ain't a whole hell of a lot better in the white community. So let's not run around here and act like we have any superiority when it comes to that. I mean, it's just, this is a major problem in America. It's just even worse in the black community because they are such a smaller portion of society, of the overall population. And it makes up for such an overwhelming amount of that statistic. But yeah, we ain't doing a whole hell of a lot better over here on the other side. So be careful about pointing fingers there. Go point them in the mirror as well. Make sure you're doing your part to be a good male role model for any young men in your life. If you got kids, make sure you're doing your part to be a good father. But I think I started this jumping down this rabbit hole. At the top of the rabbit hole, we were talking about just the mental health of young men and the stuff they're going through, trying to get a date. Young women are going for, it's the perfect Instagram life, the perfect Instagram boyfriend. And, your average guy, may not check off those boxes. You got a bunch of girls out here who are sick. They're a 6 on a good day, thinking they're going to get a 10. And it's left a whole bunch of guys. What do we call the chat? Please help me. What do we call those guys that have given up on trying to have sex or trying to be with a woman? They're not gay. Not cis males. I'm a cis male. I didn't even know that was a derogatory term. What are the people called that have just checked out altogether? They're not going to date. They're not going to be with anybody. Grok, what are men called that have just decided to eliminate themselves from the dating pool? Incels.
Or involuntarily celibate.
Yeah, so they're involuntarily celibate. There's a lot of that going on. A lot of these young men have become incels. And then we've taken that term incel and made it a derogatory term. And they've just married themselves to their online community, video game communities, whatever. And these are the people that are committing suicide at the highest rate. Like I said, man, if you got a young man,
it's rough.
Stop, Grok.
I hear you. It's rough out there.
I hear you too. Stop. Let me close that. Let's take a break. I need a breather for a second. We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show. All right, let's I'm going to drag the comments on down here. We got a bunch. I'm way behind. The Aryan Brotherhood says you cannot become a member of the Aryan Brotherhood if you engage in homosexuality. Figure that was worth throwing out there. I'll just kind of pick back up. Let me just kind of pick a spot to pick back up. Dustin hold on. Let's start with Linda here. Linda says a lot of medications that doctors put younger people on cause suicidal thoughts. Amen. Amen, Linda. You know, a lot of these kids that commit these mass shootings, and I'm calling them kids, people under 30 are kids to me. A lot of these kids have SSRIs in their system. Dustin says 63% of suicides are from fatherless homes, and 85% of youth in prison are from fatherless homes. That's strong. That is a hard number to ignore. You know, and our government for so long has rewarded single mothers with kicking the father out of the home. It's rewarded single mothers with having children from more than one man. You know, like if you'll look at, I used to know the stats off the top of my head. I don't anymore. I never had to pay child support. Well, we had joint custody. You know, long story short. So I never had to pay child support. But my understanding is it benefits the woman to have, let's say a woman has 2 kids, she gets more money with it being like from child support. She gets a bigger percentage on that second child because it's just one child with that one man. But let's say she has 1 kid with one man, so she gets X amount let's just, for the sake of just making up round numbers here, let's say she gets 30% of his income for that first child. And then the second child, it goes down to like 15%. I'm sure plenty of y'all in the comments can tell me the right numbers here. But if she has 2 kids with 2 men, she gets 30% for that first child from man A. Then she gets 30% of his income for that second child from man B. So she gets more money in child support alone by having multiple kids with multiple men. Versus if she had multiple kids, there's a diminishing returns. The more kids you have with one man, you can only get so much of his income. But if you have multiple kids with different men, you get a larger portion of each man's income. And then you get the state money. You know, you get the more tax deductions. You get more Section 8. You get more all that. So we're incentivizing single motherhood. You know, I saw where Kentucky, and I've had this article pulled up for a while here, and I've in my house on the computer on my desk. Kentucky, I believe, has now said all divorces, unless they're extenuating circumstances, are joint custody. There is basically no more child support. There is no more the woman getting full custody or the man. You know, let's just say the woman here because that's 99% of the time. There's no more of this, the woman getting full custody in a divorce and the man having to pay her child support. Divorce rates have gone down like 30% in Kentucky since they enacted this. Women are staying in their marriage because they can't get that guaranteed cash out for divorcing. So it's helping keeping fathers in homes. Y'all can Google that. It's a real story, like Kentucky joint custody law, something like that. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. I've been on a burner this morning. If you go back and listen to the podcast, if you're listening on the radio, go back and listen to the podcast or go back and find one of the live streams. I don't think I've done but one commercial break on the live stream. I have talked through all of them. And before I continue on, I got to do an ad read for you guys, man. We got to break bread here this morning. Let's see here. Shelter Insurance. Jamie Creel, my good friend right below me here. Guys, if you've got insurance anywhere but with Shelter Insurance and Jamie Creel, let him shop your rate for you. Man, maybe you're getting a good rate from somewhere. Maybe you're happy with your insurance guy if you've got a local one. But it never hurts to keep them honest. Shop them. Shop your rate and see if Jamie can help you out with Shelter Insurance. I did. He's my insurance guy. And, I mean, I moved over to him when I got my new truck. And I've been very satisfied. Money comes right out on an automatic draw out of my checking account. I ain't got to think about it. It just goes. He saved me about $100 a month between my car insurance and my renter's insurance out on the house. And boom, I'm just very satisfied. And I know that I can pick up that phone at midnight. If I have an accident, if I have a situation, I can call Jamie, text Jamie, and he's going to be there. Whatever I need, he's going to take care of it. If it's a rental car, if it's a ride, if it's whatever. He's got me faded, and I ain't special. He's going to do the same thing for you. Jamie Creel, Shelter Insurance. Also, your credit plays a big role in how much you're paying on your insurance. If you have been rebuilding your credit for the last 6 months, 7 months, year, and you're still paying the same in insurance, you hadn't shopped your insurance, stop what you're doing right now. Well, at 9 o'clock when I get off the radio, don't leave the radio. But reach out to Jamie, have him run you a quote, because if your credit score has gone up a few points, you're giving away free money to whoever you're paying for your insurance, because you could absolutely be saving money with your better credit score. That's Jamie Creel, Shelter Insurance Agent, but he's more than just an agent; he's a friend. All right, man, let's jump back into this. I was just talking during the break, so much of these. One of our followers here watching on Facebook, Dustin Jones, hit me with a crazy number here. And we got about 7 minutes left today. Dustin says 63% of suicides are from fatherless homes and 85% of youth in prison are from fatherless homes. That is a home run text there, because that reminded me of a new law that's been passed here in the last little bit in Kentucky, where they're doing joint custody now on all divorces. They're not giving the mother full custody and the father just getting every other weekend or whatever. And so there is no child support basically anymore. Now, there are extreme cases, don't get me wrong. They're not going to give a crackhead joint custody. But it has eliminated divorces, I want to say 30% or 60% or something. Also, we did just get some breaking news here. The family is seeking a second autopsy in the death of the Delta State student. That is no surprise. So we're going to – Grok, what is the details on Kentucky and its new joint custody law in divorces? Did that not bring divorce rates down in that state? Dang it, I got to ask it again. Hold on. Call or stay on hold. Grok, tell me about the law Kentucky just passed concerning joint custody in divorces. Did that not bring the divorce rate down extremely in that state? All right, while it's doing that.
Kentucky actually passed that joint custody law back in 2018, made 50-50 parenting the default for kids in divorces. Not just passed, but yeah, it kicked in nationwide buzz. And here's the thing, divorce rates there did drop sharp, like 25% from 16 to 23, way faster than the country's 18% slide. Courts start with equal time unless there's abuse or something nasty, so folks rethink splitting up, or at least drag it out less. Critics say it risks kids with bad dads, but data's leaning pro so far.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So divorces came down 25%. Let's take a call on the Mazda Jackson phone line. Hey, you're on the air.
Good morning, Clay. Look, 15 years in law enforcement, 3 of which was dealing with juveniles. Back then we didn't, quote, arrest them. We had what was called a juvenile contact sheet and worked it up for juvenile court and everything. 75% of the time, the youth that were being arrested could not answer question number 7 on the juvenile contact sheet. What was that question?
Who's the father?
What's your father's name? They could tell you the boyfriend or who's shacking up with who and everything else and all, but, which we would always have to clarify now, is that your real dad, or is it, no, man, he's just hanging out. He's, over at the crib and doing it. But, 75% of the time they had no clue what their real father's name was.
Interesting. But I'm not surprising at all, unfortunately. Where was that at? What county?
Jackson.
Jackson.
Jackson, Hines County. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, man. Not surprising at all. But and it's a huge problem, and we're not going to fix it until we quit incentivizing single motherhood. Because
right.
it ain't just an accident that we have so many single mothers in these communities. They're working the system. I mean, I worked at a buy here, pay here car lot for years, and I've been in that community for years, and I've seen it. I know how they do it. I kind of know how the sausage is made, unfortunately, and as do you, I'm sure, because you've seen it too. I mean, it's not an accident. It's systemic on their end. They know what they're doing.
Oh, yeah. And, it's sad because the kids, that's all they understand. When you grow up in it, I mean, it's what you understand.
Yep.
And they think that is their normal life and everything. But, look, I appreciate you being online because when I'm out of town in New Orleans or Mobile or Hammond or whatever, able to pick you up. So appreciate you streaming it.
Heck yeah, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, let's get to some other callers.
Thank you, brother. Take care. Have a good weekend.
All right, bye.
Yep. Yeah, man. Great call there. Former law enforcement says on the juvenile contact sheet, the seventh question was, who is the father? And the majority of them could not answer that question, but could tell you who the boyfriend was and anything else. That's a sad deal, man. That's a sad deal. Let's go to the Guns and Gear text line. I've given the online folks a lot of attention this morning. I haven't been in the text line a whole lot. But y'all look at that Kentucky joint custody law. It was enacted in 2018, and it seems to be working very well. But I can't believe the lawyers allowed that to pass. It feels like that's taking a lot of divorce lawyer money. So let's go to the Guns and Gear text line. Man, y'all got out to Guns and Gear this weekend. See Hunter and the team. See what they got going on for all your guns, ammo, knives, any accessories you may need. They buy guns too. Right there, Highway 51 North, Gluckstadt, Mississippi. Guns and Gear. Check out the website, gunsandgear.co. All right, man, Frisco. I can't hear Frisco without thinking California love. Frisco to the Bay. Says, bruh, eating the whole thing and nap isn't ruining the day. That's living right. Oh, talking about that sandwich out at Cypress Point, that ribeye steak sandwich. Y'all go get that for lunch today. Reagankin, one of my all-time favorite texters, man. Fatherless homes is a huge problem in our communities, but we don't want to face that fact because it implies personal choice and assigns responsibility. I wonder how many of those black suicides were in single-parent homes. A lot. I think we actually had the number a minute ago, actually. Somebody texted in, said oppression fetish. Well, that is a great one there, Clay. Yeah, so I stumbled upon my oppression fetish quote during a live stream the other day, and I wrote it down. I was so happy with that. I wrote it down. I said, that's it, man. They have an oppression fetish. They're not serious people. Like the black for a living, oppressed for a living folks, they're just not serious people. After 8 years of Chokwe Lumumba and his sister and their reign of terror in Jackson and the people who supported the Free the Land thugs, I lost all respect for these people. And it is what it is. Stereotypes are earned, not given. They're just not serious people. And the whole time that they're screaming about being the victim, they're out here running a racket and being corrupt and getting rich, selling out Jackson. And I tried to tell you, and y'all called me a racist, but at the end of the day, I was vindicated. And I was right. Just like with what's going on with what happened with Charlie Kirk. I've been telling y'all the left are crazy and they want to kill us. No, they're not. You're just exaggerating. Trans people are the greatest thing ever put on this earth. And, well, you see what happened there. Let's take our last break of the day online. Don't go nowhere. I'm going to land the plane with y'all. Radio, stand by. Rip the knob off. We'll tell you what's for lunch when we come back. All right, guys, speaking of what's for lunch, Martin's, Livingston, and Martin's downtown, it's fried chicken today. Swing by, grab some fried chicken. grab a bag of their homemade pork skins, get you some queso from wherever, and some pork skins and queso. I actually took my pork skins that I got from there, and I put some of that pimento and cheese, the Palmetto brand, pimento and cheese, and use that as a little dip. My God, it's one of the best thing I've ever had. I'm actually going to leave here now and go to Martin's Livingston and get me 2 bags of that for the weekend. It is so good. And if you're on a keto diet or a carbless diet, 0 carbs and pork skins. They've even got some protein in them. McBee's, it's a fried catfish Friday. And they use real Mississippi-raised catfish. So be sure to check that out. The Manship, they've got fish tacos. Can't go wrong there. I love a fish taco. Love a fish taco. So a lot of great places. Enjoy all of them. El Patrillo Mexican Grill and Cantina. Get out there, do the Mexican restaurant thing in Cross Gates or in Flowood. That's an experience. I love Mexican restaurants. Big goblet of beer, frozen. Love it. Let's see here. Let's see if I can read a few more of your comments before we get out of here. Let me find my active. All right, yeah, we got about 3 minutes. Let's see. Man, I really appreciate everybody's comments today. I truly do. Great conversation. We took a conversation, a tough conversation, and we faced it head on. Faced it head on. Like Alan Ladd said, the term is black pill doomers. Yeah. Let's see here. Mike Magazine says, these women got to be real. How do you truly look without hair and makeup? Those women need to grow up. Yep. Damien had a really long text here, and I missed it. Well, he was replying to somebody, so we don't read replies. William Q. Panama says, Groiper boys up. Yeah, so I'm just now learning this whole Groiper thing. And I am familiar with Nick Fuentes. I've become more familiar with him since Charlie Kirk died. I've been seeing more and more of his videos pop up. And that is what we call the law of unintended consequences. They tried to kill Charlie Kirk's message by killing Charlie Kirk. Well, now you got Nick Fuentes that was sitting back he was in the bullpen saying, put me in, coach. Put me in, coach. He didn't like Charlie Kirk. But if you were trying to kill the message by killing Charlie Kirk, Nick Fuentes was the next man up with a much more extreme version of that. So you killed the guy that was willing to have a civil conversation with you. And now you're stuck with Nick Fuentes, Clay Edwards, Salty Cracker, Milo Yiannopoulos, Steven Crowder. Now you're stuck with people who want to punch you in the face. I don't want to talk with you. I don't want to negotiate with you. I don't want to debate with you. You don't negotiate with terrorists. I think y'all are terrorists. I'm not here to negotiate. I'm loaded up on testosterone and I'm pissed off. I'm not here to negotiate. I'm ready for war. This has been the Clay Edwards Show. I'll see y'all back here Monday, 7 a.m. Peace out. It's a 3-hour show Monday too, by the way.